Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. All backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
Hello and welcome to IMP's AEW Adventures podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Help the network out by leaving us a 5-star review, give a donation directly through Red Circle, and become one of the amazing community by joining the Social Suplex Discord. Link is in the description. Read the Social Suplex newsletter. Shout out to Trish and Tim as always, and to every person who's contributed so far. Listen to the other top-notch shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network: One Nation Radio, Keeping It Strong Style, All Things Elite, Wrestling Art with Chris Things, Trish and Sarah, Tunnel Talk, Sam Brown's AEW Match Guide, and Joshing around. My name is Matt Maher, aka Imp, and it's your quick look back at the AEW week that was. 30 minutes of an Englishman with no voice because it's been Eurovision week and I definitely drank too much with my banger last night. But yeah, so I can really feel it. I feel so rough. so yes, lots of alcohol, lots of heart-beating tension of, oh please no, please not Israel. Very happy times going banger. Anyway, I'm here to talk about the wrestling. I mean, it did put me into a certain mood as I'm watching Collision. Anything that was kind of like silly nonsense, like when Darby started doing his over-dramatic selling, just kind of cheesy over-dramaticness. It's like, it's been Eurovision weekend, like, I'm going to be way kinder on that on this week specifically, because I'm in the mood for nonsense. I always enjoy going Cassidy's shtick, but Darby Allin as well, I was fully there for it. Dynamite was also cool too, with the bold open, as I refer to it in my notes. I really enjoyed everything to do with MJF and the bold stuff. I thought both shows this week were really enjoyable. Collision had a particularly great crowd. Sometimes Collision can be a bit quiet on the crowd side, even though the action's amazing. I don't know if that's like a production thing in like a smaller arena sometimes for Collision, but however they mic'd up Maryland or whatever, they sounded so good. I really enjoyed it. Partly coming off of Eurovision, where they do quiet the noise of the crowd, which I know sounds a bit, if you don't watch it, that sounds like, what do you mean it's a big song contest? Why do you turn the crowd off? Because Israel. They boo Israel, so they have to turn the sound down so they can't hear any of that, so nobody gets crowd noise, which I know is a bit, antithetical to the actual point of the competition, but it meant that I was watching Collision. It had a knock-on effect. I watched Collision, I heard loads of crowd noise, and I had a lovely time with the crowd. It helped that it was a really cool show that flew by, but still, the crowd were like properly good. They were really good from Maryland. Anyway, North Carolina showed up as well. I really enjoyed Dynamite. AEW are just on such a roll at the moment that sometimes I come into it and I look at my notes and I'm like, praising a lot? I'm nowhere near as critical as with others. I'm almost just in my little bubble of just enjoying my wrestling, and I come on here and then I'll talk about it, I'll share it, and I'll almost share my excitement in a way, my enjoyment. I've got times spending so long talking about something I wasn't enjoying. Suddenly with AEW, I'm like reveling in it, and the fact that it happens to hit a hot run as soon as I jump over as well. Anyway, let's bang on with the show. Dynamite from Asheville, North Carolina. The bold open with MJF contemplating his fate if he agrees to Darby's championship versus hair stipulation, and a good laugh later in the show when Andrade took off his cap and whipped his hair just to tease Max. I love that. In the UK we call that shithousery. He's just doing it. Let's go on about the AEW Dynamite show, starting with Tommaso Ciampa and the Dogs and FTR versus Orange Cassidy, the Young Bucks, and Cope and Christian in a 10-man party tag to kick us off. Let's play a sound clip of the electric crowd at the pinfall of that match, and then we'll talk about it.
Dax is down, Stoke. And there's one man alone. Super kick. Party from the Bucks and Cope. Followed up by an orange punch. And a spear. Come on. Kick out, Clark.
Hometown boy Dax and Cash in the one town they'll be cheered in. I like how AEW leads into this sort of stuff. Like where they are in the country actually plays into things. It actually does matter in terms of advantages and the way that the wrestlers themselves will play off certain bits. And AEW have really got these matches down to a T. That silly, chaotic, fun energy is so infectious. Any hot tag building still has the baddie team tagging in fast, so there's no slow momentum slowing down for the heat. And it's just so fun to watch. It is still burned into my mind of there's a way you do tag matches where you have long segments building the heat. so that you get a much bigger reaction for the hot tag, and then you fly fast for the end. But that means you get like a boring 20 minutes or whatever it is, and then an exciting 5. It's not worth the trade-off. Here is the proof. You can be exciting all of the time, and it's really fun. The crowd clapping and shouting on their feet before the ad break. Never mind those actual electric, rapid flows for the closing minutes. This was also the match where I realised how great the vibe is having both Christian and Orange Cassidy on the same team. just two people, two very different kind of caring vibes. And I love the spot of Cage just throwing Cassidy over the top rope instead of letting the man do his own dive. It's such a great dickhead move. The goodies enjoyed their time a little too much, and Nay dive for you, Cope. FTR Shatter Machine out of nowhere, and with the pin breakup into the electric pool, everybody dove. Each lad got their shit in. Cope and Connor's the legal 2, and an accidental Clark spear to Dax. Superkick part A from the Bucks and Cope. Orange punch, spear. The crowd looked like they absolutely loved every second of that. It was a really fun 10-man party, PWG style, really entertaining match. In terms of like the pacing of the show, it just wakes you up and gets you going. Like often these are used to just wake the crowd back up ready for the main event or something like that, to give them an extra boost in the middle of the show. But to kick off with it as well, you start everything in such a good feeling. And of course they're building all the different stories and matches. You've got Stadium Stampede bubbling in the background. You've got FTR versus Cope and Christian with their tag title match. And I kept saying it during the FTR Young Bucks thing, but any week where I'm not getting a serious promo is a win for me. Like I will take this every single week over Cope delivering a serious promo to Dax or Cash. Our kids go to the same school, damn it. I don't care. You've already set up all the stipulations. Just seeing them in this environment for me really worked, because I have been dreading the serious Cope type of stuff. Like, hey, we may get a match full of it at Double or Nothing, but at least in the build they've found multiple ways to dodge that. They did the same for the Young Bucks FTR. They found multiple ways just to dodge that sentiment, and I feel like they've done a really good job of that here. And including them in a match like this, it makes you naturally cheer for Cope and Christian in a lot better of a way than trying to convince me with a serious promo or whatever. Even if that serious promo still include like a jokey Christian bit, I feel like this does a lot better. You got to see Christian still being a dickhead in action, and I feel like that does so much more. Because wrestling's a physical medium. I don't need you to stop and tell me the story for me to understand it. Like, you can leave that kind of storytelling to a different promotion. I feel like it's more nuanced if you find a way to convey that story without having to stop and tell it me. I think I said it all the time when I was like just covering WWE, where I was really happy that the two promotions go for different audiences. And if AEW is able to give this more nuanced type of thing where it's a completely different method of storytelling, they're not going to stop their matches to then tell you the story. So for me, this sort of thing here, where you're seeing all these different characters and you understand the characters of Cope and Christian far better watching them in action than hearing them talk about stuff. For me, that's a win-win. That falls so well into AEW style of storytelling. Like, hey, maybe it's still stuck in my mind after covering Young Bucks versus the Golden Lovers with Sam Brown on his Match Guide show. It's just in my mind the way that you can tell a story within the match. For me, that is an absolute like core proof of concept ahead of AEW for the style of wrestling they were going to portray. Anyway, on to the other notes. A quick video training with the Death Riders. I mean, wrestling's not gay, but it is compulsory that everyone has their shirts off. Like, I don't make the rules. Just as soon as where they go to this weird training area out on a open area with the beautiful view and everything. And joking aside, I do enjoy how these segments with Ospreay and Mox essentially play out like we're getting to hear the villain explain his outlook and philosophy to the goodie. Like, if I'm making a film about this is the point where Will Ospreay is in the cult. He has infiltrated the cult, and he's actually getting to hear and listen to how the leader believes and how he thinks, his outlook on the world, his plans and everything. All of this is super necessary, and then building up to the final point where Keanu Reeves is on his back shooting his pistol into the sky. I'm not saying make this a bit more sexual and go Point Break route. There are many other examples of infiltrating a cult, but this is pro wrestling. Lean into that shit. But I really like this. It's so much fuel for when you eventually do get to Mox and Ospreay, to a point where I know there's a lot of people going for what if you could do Will Ospreay winning the Owen Cup, and then Will Ospreay goes to Wembley, and then you have that big thing where you crown Will Ospreay. They've really started folding that in. Maybe part of the journey could be that Will Ospreay and John Moxley have a match at some point. I mean, if they're telling this well enough, you can incorporate Will Ospreay's championship reign into his whole Death Rider part, which you really build to him versus Mox later on. Like, that's not like a Wembley thing or something. But there's many ways you can go down. But personally, I really like this in terms of specifically Will Ospreay and Mox. Actually getting to hear how the villain in the story operates and thinks is such a cool part of it. Because then you're obviously behind the good guy when he's fighting later, but you fully understand where the villain's coming from. And if we lead to such a dramatic match, to a point where you could do this at Wembley, but I feel like if they're leaning into Will Ospreay winning the title because it's in London and all of that stuff, you could also, because Alex Windsor's in the women's Owen, end the show with both Windsor and Ospreay. But we did it with the English people, but I feel like if you fold Ospreay's story into something that's not like entirely to do with like him winning just because he's from here, he's English or anything, like you get rid of that. Maybe closer to Mariah and Tony, where Will Ospreay does happen to be English, but his title win is happening in a much bigger story, and it's the story we're invested in, as well as the fact of, he is from here. Like, he is English, so we will overcheer him. I feel like this Ospreay Mox story has got potential to go somewhere. I'm not saying do Point Break. There are many other culty type of things, but yeah, I really appreciate this, what they're doing at the moment. I'm sure that Mox is probably thinking Fight Club or something a bit more. He's probably thinking of something a little bit more manly and serious than the one example I've gone for, but it's pro wrestling. Lean into it. We got a wee Stadium Stampede video play. Maybe they realised they should give a quick explainer given the soft reaction last week in the arena. The Bucks, Jack Perry and Kenny Omega added to the goodies, Mark Davies, Andrade and the Dogs to the baddies, and the Owen Hart bracket reveals the finals at Forbidden Door on June 28th. We've already mentioned this one a little bit, but in the men's tournament, Samoa Joe versus Will Ospreay, that will happen at Double or Nothing, and Mark Davies versus Jungle Jack Perry, that's on the left side of the bracket, and on the right side, Swerve Strickland versus Bandido, also at Double or Nothing, and Claudio Castagnoli versus Brody King. Really interesting brackets for me. It's why I'm saying, like, Will Ospreay's obviously the favourite, but he is in such a big storyline we could follow something, but I feel like this is a occasion where the obvious pick is just the one you go for. You hope the overall story is interesting enough that it kind of bypasses the fact that Will Ospreay is the obvious winner, but if you're so vested in the story, then it all makes sense. On the women's side, Persephone versus Suzuki, Willow Nightingale versus Alex Windsor, which is at Double or Nothing, Mina Shokara versus Athena, and Sky Blue versus Sarie. Sarie finally, like first time in AEW, was at the All in Texas show, finally making her telly show debut wrestle. Poor Sky Blue. Used as basically a first round enhancement match to get us more behind Sarie. Also, my calls to bring Athena into the tournament immediately answered as well. For me, the interesting part is there's so many big acts at the moment, but with the tag scene as well, like there's no Megan Bain in here, where she feels like she's just going to be such a stalwart for the entire division. There's such a big name not being in here is interesting. There's just a lot of names, not like no Jamie Hayter, no Hikaru Shida. There's a lot of like names who are currently, no Chris Statlander. I keep interrupting myself, I think there's more. So it's just interesting that these are the names, but I do like seeing the likes of Sarie in here, which is partly why I was like, is it Alex Windsor? And they just go for the Alex Windsor Will Ospreay ending at All In Wembley. Is something like that where it feels like that's just the blatant route to go down? Is that the good idea? Or not? Like making it that obvious this far out that that's what you're going to do. But AEW are normally pretty good at rocking the road and making you feel like you're going in a direction, swerving enough, and they've done enough groundwork where it doesn't feel too random. Like, for example, if Will Ospreay doesn't win, they've set up Swerve well enough, and maybe that does spoil for me that maybe Darby Allin retains and you have him go for longer, even though for me that surely shouldn't be the plan. Like, even for just Darby Allin's well-being at this point. Like, don't let him have a reign like this for that length of time. Because even though I do really like the idea of AEW's most dangerous man, which would surely at that point be AEW's most broken boy. Like, I really do like that dynamic. But it is in London, so you go with the English people possibly. Conglomeration with Renee. Kyle O'Reilly challenged John Moxley. Willow Nightingale with her own pink backpack, planning to still be TBS champion come Wembley. Rob Briscoe in for his return, who just shouted about Tommaso Ciampa for next week in his own unique way. Orange Cassidy afterwards, as Renee was just fully laughing, and he was just like, I'm very tired. That was a lot of yelling. Rob Briscoe was very excited to be back. On to the jet speed portion. Speedball Mike Bailey versus Jobber Westbrook. Oh, Westy, the absolute state of you. Fresh out the shower with his hair soaking wet and moustache just coming through. The man is athletic though, until he wasn't, and he slipped on the ropes. I thought, as soon as it happened, I was like, oh, he's like, I'd assume Bailey's experienced enough to let's just pretend that this slip was part of the ending, and like you dangle on the ropes was purposeful, it's part of the story, it leads into the ending. But instead, he yelled, I've got this, before springboarding back in for the planned corner spinning kick spot. Moonsault knees to the bag and quick Bailey win. And after that Canadian enhancement, into the actual segment of substance we go. The TNT Championship Open Challenge, Kevin Knight versus a returning Brian Cage. The Machine Man is back. Renee stood at ringside, pointed the relevant details for us, letting us know that it's been over a year since Cage has done a wrestling in an AEW ring. And what a great base for Kevin Knight's showcase Cage was. Best of the bunch was Kevin's big dive outside, caught comfortably into the powerbomb hold. Bailey at ringside kicks Archer away from interfering. Still enough of a distraction to let Cage showcase his big strong boyness. A great example of a muck-up smartly being worked in. Convenient that he came after the last match to immediately get a good example. Cage was sat up in the corner, Kevin Knight went for a head scissors, and both lads were just off, but Cage quickly grabbed the champion's legs and changed just into using his power to just hoist the man up, then head scissors counter. Crowd is all happy. UFO splash for the win and happy jet speed mic times afterwards, where the duo teased Bailey also becoming a champion before the Canadian challenge to be next for the AEW Championship, so that will happen on Dynamite next week in a big 3-hour special, which in the new format I won't cover. I realised that by the time that Double or Nothing happens, that's like the main focus that I want to talk about, rather than doing a massive 3-hour show first and then getting into Double or Nothing. If anything key happens, I'll bullet point it. Because I think I've realised it is at least worth mentioning some stuff. Normally I try and fold it into what I'm talking about on the pay-per-view itself. I don't need to cover everything that happens on Dynamite if I can then just fold the relevant stuff into Double or Nothing itself. Anyway, Will Ospreay versus Ace Austin. A respectful goodie vessel to give us a wee spotlight of Ospreay's Death Rider influence now that he's medically cleared. I really liked how Ospreay's signature offense was routinely countered here. It taking the Death Rider influence to give him that edge over Austin. This is awesome after the Styles Clash was countered into an Ace knees to Williams' belly. Then after that, the Bang Bang Man slipped away from a cheeky Nando's kick. Kicky times exchanged. Ospreay rocked with a stiff rolling elbow and into the quick flash we flowed. Austin won out basically every exchange like that. Will just blast him in the face with a hidden blade after. Enough of that, lad. Ospreay ran in to kick Ace's arm out of his arm, then immediately into an armbar submission. Commentary talked the Death Rider influence to bring that front and centre, just in case he didn't get it. Hey, I've seen social media. I full well know there are people out there who think you're not telling a story unless you stop the action in the match to tell it to them. That's what the commentators are for. If you're struggling to figure out what story they're trying to tell, don't worry. The commentators are literally telling it you to your ears. You've got more than one source of story here. You don't need to pause the match and do a monologue. After the respectful handshake, out came Samoa Joe on the stage with Shibata and shirtless Bowens to deliver his monologue. A speech about choices and consequences for Ospreay, something that Bowens would echo when we get to Collision. Death Riders on out as backup. A really cool shot with them all standing up onto the apron surrounding Ospreay, and William with a slight, are they friends? Smile afterwards. Hey, Joe retained his toughness. There's a lot of people to take on. Off he goes. But no, it's better than that. Ospreay's infiltrated the crew to a point where they back him up. Part of the ship, he's part of the crew. He's in. He's in. He can get to Mox. I told you there's more than one cult infiltration movie. Technically, the second Pirates of the Caribbean film is that with Orlando Bloom. The penultimate match of the night was the Triangle of Madness, Tekla, Sky Blue and Julia Hart versus Hikaru Shida, Jamie Hayter and Alex Windsor. A four-way set for Double or Nothing for Tekla against Shida, Hayter and Statlander, billed as three former women's champions. Windsor in this instead of Stat so they could also hype up her as Willow's opponent for Double or Nothing. That card's already filling up with a lot of matches. We've got Darby MJF, Okada, Takeshita, FTR Kobe Christian, 3 Owens matches, the women's 4-way. That's 7 without a Moxley, which takes you to 8, or Kevin Knight match, or multi-man party tag. This is going to be a big card. Something tells me Paul Willow might end up on the pre-show. This match here was a ton of fun. Really liked the shot of Sky Blue and Alex Windsor brawling atop the barricade and just staying on that shot for a good while. Tekla Spear to Shida after the cheeky times had all the women diving in. Running Bird's tag move brawlings on the champion got holded by sneaky Sky Blue and then a sneaky blind tag to stop Windsor hurting Julia. The Birds amped up for the finisher on Sky, but Tekla was never going to let that happen, so just ran in with the title, DQ loss with the post-match beatdown, and run out save via Willow, Mina and Thunder Rosa. That's 5 women right there. You're teasing me teams, AEW, but I know you're not going to be on the pay-per-view. What are you teasing me teams for? You well know that we get to Double or Nothing and we're expecting Anarchy times and they give me a 5-person team. Because I'm not sold that Stadium Stampede is going to fill that hunger. It's going to fill my thirst for Anarchy. Feels like it's going to be fun, crazy chaos, rather than whatever Anarchy the Arena, whatever you could describe that vibe as. And the main event for the AEW Championship, Darby Allin versus Konosuke Takeshita. Did Darby Allin take it a little easier on this week's Dynamite? You tell me. Does immediately getting launched into a barricade and immediately drawing mouth blood before building to a mighty blue thunder bomb off the apron sound like an easier week to you? Absolutely not. The steel steps set ringside for me was fun as well. No holding back from Dobbs as he pelted up them to fly with a dropkick. In proper car crash dummy mode for his dive too, crashing with a thud into the announce desk, and then the holy shit fully earned for that blue thunder bomb to crash us into the ad break. No room for a breather until that spot gave him an off-air few minutes for Darby to get his breath back. Just brutal spot after brutal spot in this one. A lovely padding shot as Takeshita threw the wee boy onto his neck with a dragon suplex off top, but the wee fecker just cannot be killed. Clone interference so Don could give his man MJF's earlier supplied out of Friedman Desperation diamond ring. The man is on his goodie journey so he refused the ring, but that gave Dobbs time to recover enough for our back and forth with the crowd on their feet, but this time that last supper pin from Darby was not enough. I like seeing things that have earned the previous win in this small time period already is already getting countered on, already not working. It's a downside to having so many title matches is you have a lot of data to get found out. So it's a bright side of what MJF would do. If you don't wrestle, there's less evidence for how you will win a match, whilst Darby's got all of this stuff there. Coffin drop onto the flawed man too, somehow got the big lad's body into the ring and eventually enough drop for the win, with Excalibur banging on about each successive title match being more punishing than the last, which is relevant when we get to the Collision main event. The fellow was gasping for air with blood blood drooling out of his mouth as he called out Max. Tables and chairs out for a show-ending impromptu title match signing between a champion struggling to breathe and a reluctant possible contender in one of the more unique vibes for a wrestling paperwork segment. The crowd chanted bold over and over as Max teased every ounce of his quandary. The beginning of the show set that up. He had a segment backstage with Don Callis where he supplied in the ring just to reinforce the bold stuff. But when it comes to the main event, this has just already been primed. The audience is so primed to chant bold at him. Max uses mic time to try and make himself the bigger man again. You're just the little prick who got lucky. You were too reckless and stupid to remain on top. Whilst Darby was once more able to just cut straight through his bullshit, I'm going to make Maxwell Jacob Freeman a bald-headed bitch. There's the emphasis, sign it, done. Max tried his tricks, but they don't work on Darby, and that's something I really like about this. Max might be able to beat him in the ring, but all of his mental games have failed. Darby is immune to them. That taunt enough to get the man to sign, then right into the antics to get the edge. Cheap shot on punches, diamond ring on, and a strike right to the temple. One final message with a tombstone off Brett's rope, but before it could happen, Kevin Knight sprang in to make the save. But I really like how we're seeing so much desperation from MJF here. They did a really good job getting over what this means to the MJF character, so even though it isn't the biggest stipulation, because of course we've seen the Hangman stipulation from earlier this year, but getting over the fact that for MJF specifically, this is a big deal, and it took the amping up from Darby to finally get him to actually sign, even though he tried all the mental games tricks of trying to belittle Darby and make light of his reign. The fact that this is getting to him so much, it's clearly showing. It's one of the things where I'm really excited. I can just see where all of this gets folded into the match itself, and when we get to Collision as well, for me it's okay, we're going to get to dramatic selling from Darby with his broken body and Max laughing at him or whatever. It was all being set up. But for me, that's great. It's so good to enter a match where you've got so many story beats that you can flow through, because so much work has been put into it. There's just a lot to pay off when it comes to the actual match. I was so convinced that you have to make this Darby run short, but it got to a point where I would be happy for both characters. If Darby retains, there is also a road that is interesting. My main issue is, if you're always going to put the title back onto Max, you're not going to get that same reaction for the second match. I don't see any world. When I say I don't see any world, that's because I lack the creative spark to figure out how you would keep me invested, specifically so that I have a reaction if MJF were to win. For me, if you're going to make Max the champion, this is the one to do it, because you've got me to a point where I'm fine with either road. This is where I'm going to be the most happy for this Darby run to end. We go back to MJF. Darby has successfully made his point, but then road to the wheels fall off. That's been his statement from minute one, and that's exactly what he's doing. They're showing him breaking down on Collision. For me, that's the biggest note, where they're okay, this specifically, that wheels fall off thing is specifically what's going to come up at the pay-per-view. We are watching him break before he even gets there. He's already falling apart. So either Darby gets a surprise win and it extends the reign longer than we're expecting, or we've already begun the logic for why he loses. And either world, I'm happy. I'm not going to be able to predict which one they're going to choose, and I am very happy that that's the world I'm in. Anyway, let's get over to Collision before my voice goes away. All I feel is my voice feels like it's very, very rough. I've already talked about it, but Collision was from Salisbury, Maryland, and yeah, I thought this crowd were great, loud all night, just seemed to have a whale of a time. And let's start off with another fun little tag, the AEW Trios Championship Eliminator, the Conglomeration versus Shane Taylor Promotions. So let's play a wee clip of that, and then let's bang on about Collision.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.
Taylor down, Carly Bravo down from the heavens. The J Driller. Sean Dean rolled over 1, 2, 3. Reach for the sky, boy.
I do realise in a lot of my transitions I'm saying bang on some version of that quite a lot. It's just because in my head it's just going banga 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 banga. It's just over and over again. It's stuck in there. It's properly in there. Maryland were all sorts of excited for their kind of a near neighbour, so that counts as hometown right, returning Briscoe. O'Reilly gave plenty of time to dance and look great grappling around with Lee Moriarty. The crowd was so loud for everything the conglomerates did. A good chuckle as the captain taunted Cassidy to do his hands in the pocket spot. The man fully teased doing it before getting the better of his challenger anyway. A tad more pure and serious between O'Reilly and Moriarty. A cravat and knee strikes as Maryland chanted, "We want Briscoe." The crowd's so hot for his tag. A different promotion would have to pipe in this level of excitement for an opening Teddy six-man. Jay Driller to Sean Dean for the win. The whole match was just a burst of fun excitement. Then afterwards a wee video reminding us why Briscoe wanted to face Tommaso Ciampa on Wednesday. Later in the show we cut to Ciampa just beating up Briscoe backstage and the two brawled out into the ring. A wee heating up teaser with two chairs, but no retribution for Mark. Instead a baddie low blow, and he was the one who got to swing with the steel. A suplex from on high crashing onto the set chairs was teased, but the conglomerates saved the day. Amped up, Briscoe grabbed the mic to change their match to a no DQ on Wednesday. Briscoe is back with a bang. There's the word bang again. But the way the crowd responded to him was like he was one of the most over guys on the roster. Like, he was one of the most over guys on this night. They loved and reacted to everything he did. And like I praised the tag team match from Dynamite for just setting the pace of the show and waking up the crowd, this did the exact same here. The crowd were hot for this match, and then it felt like they were making so much noise for the entire show. And as we are getting closer to a pay-per-view and a tournament, there's quite a few other notes. The very first segment of the show was Mox backstage in an orange hallway accepting Kyle O'Reilly's Continental Championship challenge. He hyped the man up as a lad who has always had his number so far, and the match is announced for Wednesday. That takes one off my tally for potential Double or Nothing, because okay, they're doing it on Dynamite. Then Claudio got a second for some words for Brody ahead of their Owen match. Pac and the others more broadly against the world as they trot off. Speaking of Death Riders, Will Ospreay got a wee chinwag to camera, finally talking to Samoa Joe. Talks about how losing against Mox at Dynasty has mentally rocked him just as much as his injured neck did. Paired his want to rise up to that guy AEW could trust as a future champion to carry the company. With Mox's position of company ace, like his methods are sick, but he elevates the people around him. Really directioning Will Ospreay into not just winning the tournament to become a champion and prove anything to himself, but he's really putting the pressure on himself to become the guy that AEW signed. Like just saying he's had opportunities and he's not managed to do it. He's not the guy that was almost promised when AEW signed him, so now he's putting that pressure on himself to become that guy. It feels like that's a very clear direction through the Owen, using the Death Rider stuff to actually push him to a main event Wembley and win all that stuff. You can also then, I guess, pardon the pun, swerve us. We end up getting Swerve in there, which means that's your reason to keep Darby Allin champion, so you can do that, what I talked about earlier. Then you got Ospreay mocked with their whole infiltrated the crew storyline. He got on there. But also you could also just do the blatant thing. When Ospreay's told us, this is my story, and then we watch the story. Sometimes you don't have to overcomplicate it. Wrestling doesn't have to be so weird and strange and curvebally. Sometimes you can just tell us, hey, we're going to do the story. And if the crowd want to do the story, you just do it. Like, don't overthink it. Speaking of Swerve, he got a VTR play, talked on Bandido and the Owen brackets, speaking over the footage of him killing Bandido at the end of the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. Then cut to Brody and Bandido backstage with Lexi Nair. King took the attack on his friend personally, but Bandido's just such a great goody character. Like, no, this is my battle. After I beat you at Double or Nothing, Swerve, you won't be a danger anymore. And unfortunately, I'm all for using Bandido to make Swerve feel like the most dangerous man. Like, yes, please. As much as I love Bandido, this isn't the time. You can use this to long-term build up more sympathy for Bandido, but I'd love to see some form of prominent program for Swerve going to London. So yeah, make him that most dangerous man, whatever that ends up being. Like, him versus Darby doesn't have to be for the title. That's me assuming they go for him versus Darby. I've just landed on that idea of the most dangerous person and the most broken person. For me, it's like a great little thing. And they face each other on the first Wembley show, so it's like a nice little tie-up bow in that way. There's many different routes you can go, but currently I'm really digging really making Swerve that most dangerous guy, whatever you can use him for. Make him feel dangerous. Unfortunately, that means murder Bandido. And I love Bandido. Also, we got a great little Tekla video where she counted the 3 women she'll be facing. One I hate, which was Stat. One I respect, which was Hater. And one I'm still not sure about, which was Shida. Before then counting back down going, dumb bitch, dumb bitch, dumb bitch. And just holding up 2 middle fingers to the camera. Like, Tekla, don't change. Minish Rakawa and Athena got a wee jabber with Lexi Nair as well, bubbling up to a point where they were bickering they're going to be having their Owen match sooner too. An interesting segment with Nigel McGuinness as our backstage interviewer for this bit. Early in the day, he managed to track down Leah Rush, and we look at that. He's sitting on a box amongst all of the properly lit up production and cameras. Like, you should have probably looked there earlier, to be fair. That's on you, Nige. Seemed overly friendly, Leo, but normal-ish. Then after Big Nige left, left. Off came the shades. Got spooky red contact lenses on. Black goo has just dribbled out of his mouth, but certainly a unique fella. Maybe I would have been more critical on that if I hadn't just watched Eurovision. And I've had a night of nonsense, so more nonsense didn't faze me. It's just, okay, he's a weird guy. We move on. This is the vibe I get. Yes, it was weird. It was strange. Was it good? Not particularly, no. But we move on. The final other note was Anna Jay was backstage with Lexi Nair just before the main event to bring in Tay Mello. Tay J are back. Look at that, just in time for the Tall Tag Champions 5-minute challenge gimmick, which we'll get to later. We're flashing up the tag team division with another team finally returning. But onto the women's singles match, the TBS Championship, Willow Nightingale versus Red Velvet. Willow got a wee bit getting hyped with her fellow conglomerates beforehand. Then before her own entrance, Red Velvet got a wee moment to chat shit about beating the champion up. Just to remind us that this woman is the baddie in this match. Like every time I see Red Velvet, because I don't watch more than 1 or 2 Ring of Honor shows a year, it's so clear how much she's improved. Her matches with Mercedes were an obvious highlight, but I just get the same feeling with this match here. And because I only watch so few Ring of Honor shows each year, for me Red Velvet is reaching Julia in Stardom levels of having a completely different hairstyle and look and gear like each time I see her, and looking awesome with every one. Nightingale had shoulder hurty times that gave Velvet her opening, but man, this was where we really got to see how great a counter wrestler Red Velvet's becoming. Like, I don't know, there's just a certain snap to her offense when she's on the counter flow rather than like flowing on top with her kicks. Big bomb for the win, but a quality little title Teddy defense here. Working on the champion getting worn down, but there's something about Willow's version of the story which is starting to hit a little bit less, because now we've got Darby Allin. And it's fair to say, in comparison, Willow is fine. You, woman, are okay. In comparison to that creep, you are absolutely fine. The Ops, Samoa Joe and Anthony Bowens versus Jay Lethal and Lee Johnson, the Lethal Twist. I really like them showing the old Ring of Honor archive footage, showing Joe and Lethal in the match from way back 4-3 ratio when. And this was a showing for Williams' pay-per-view Owen opponent, but also for our first look at Baddie Bowens trying to portray a more aggressive variant now he's in the Ops. The man got to run over both lads, not in victory, but it's fair to say Joe wasn't in a rush to jump in, just stood ringside watching on, I guess selling recovery and trust. In typical AW style, it had more competitive than you'd expect, and a big old roar from Joe after he'd no-sold a stiff Lethal lariat. Then a wee chuckle as Jay just poked him in the eye afterwards, but no handspring payoff as Samoa and Joseph caught the man clutch chokey times, and Bowens wrenched back Johnson's arm and we got his own submission tap out. After the match, Bowens with the mic, he's still the pride of professional wrestling, but now he's being taught that actions have consequences. Joe's turn for an Osprey. He's honoured to be labelled a dream match, just unfortunate that when he gets Will in the wrestling, it'll be a nightmare. Always all serious. But Bowens did echo the actions have consequences line, which was also said by Samoa Joe earlier in the week. On to the segment I loved. It's not a long segment, but I did adore it. The AEW Women's World Tag Team Championship 5-minute Eliminator. Divine Dominion, Megan Bain and Lena Cross versus Jobbers, Ali Catch and Kaya McKenna. I love the stipulation for the tall women. Like, surely there's a shorter name for it. You're looking at like 8 or 9 words for a match title. That is too long. But I love this stip for them. And hey, I've watched Ali Catch doing the wrestles on the indie shows before. Like, it's been a while since I've indie checked in, so for me it was like seeing an old friendly face. It was like, oh yeah, it's been years since I've watched some independent stuff, but I remember you. 3:16 on the clock when the poor lass was hoisted up before the divine intervention. 1 minute 50 4-hour pinfall win. Like, yes, keep doing this, Tony. Such a perfect gimmick for your cocky dominant champions to literally put a clock on there. Like, can you even last ... time in the ring with us? Mott Davies and the Dogs versus the Rascals. Our second trio's times of the night. The baddies getting to work together the week before their Stadium Stampede shenanigans. Unsurprisingly, just a ton of fun between the Athletic Trio and the 3 brawly baddies. Like, this is awesome after the series of dives to the outside. Mott Davies, the national champion, the poor lad down with each of the Rascals getting to dive on top of him. Like, sure, Dad'll play with the kids. That was annoying. That completely flipped after the Dogs broke up the pin. Suddenly, Marvin Reed was all by himself eating shit. Mott Davies just blocked the cutter jump to the outside and lariated the fecker back into the ring. So cool. Gut wrench power driver, then that spear brainbuster Dogs finisher thing for the win. Just another really fun trios match. This was the match that then got you energized again and excited for the main event. But even though the Rascals don't have anything going into the pay-per-view, because the baddies did, for me that just gave it that edge of interest. Rascals are getting over very quickly at the moment, so the fans are just excited to see them wrestle. Which is almost like it's a good excuse to get to see them. We get to see them do all flip about, and the opponents are the ones for the actual pay-per-view date. And then on to the main event. A main event I was not expecting when I walked into this week. Another AEW World Championship defense for Darby Allin, this time against Sammy Guevara. A former future pillar for AEW, Sammy got a video package and backstage promo attempting to give an excuse as to why his current random person is getting a world title main event. Before I was LFI, I was a single star, and I immediately went, yeah, but you are currently LFI now. So all of that stuff like pop really doesn't matter. Right now, you are a random person with not much momentum who suddenly got this title match. Back in the day, he and Darby have got a lot of history, so something to use here. But it's not been set up in recent times at all. It's just suddenly happening. But don't worry, he did plenty of flips and table crashes to convince us to like him again. Please like me. Just crazy bumping type things. I mean, it's a huge spotlight. It felt like he was obviously trying to take advantage of being put in a spotlight like that. But there were a lot of crazy spots in this. Like, if you were watching AEW as like a new fan, you would have absolutely no idea why the fan base didn't like Sammy Guevara. It's fair to say the wrestling isn't the problem. The connection like to his character, that thing that you need to be that extra level, that was the thing that felt like he always struggled with. So when they put the belt on him with the TNT Championship, it felt evident. He approved. The wrestling was never the problem. Like, I still hold that Cody Rhodes Sammy Guevara ladder match in high esteem. I know not everybody does, but it was my cup of tea. I enjoyed it. The mustache man got a table out before entering the ring, and during his entrance, let us know right away, like straight out of the gate, what kind of match we were in for. Jumped the Wii champion before the bell too. Just immediately spilled the action out to ringside for barricade whips and more table setups. And look at that, a ladder. What a coincidence. Like, hey, they were off the air in 17 minutes, including the ad break, so let's just get straight to it, I guess. No dicking about. And Sammy jump off that ladder was such a flat back landing for his swanton off of it. Like, Jesus, like gave Darby the whole ad break to recover. Like, oh my god. But no, we didn't get that ad break. Instead, we got back into the ring and Darby locked in a Scorpion Deathlock and an, oh wait, I'm dead now, collapse sending from Dobbs, all serious. I did a little cheer. It's like, yes, amateur dramatics in my wrestling. Like, yay. Like, it's a bit shit and I love it. And maybe I was just in the mood of this because of Eurovision. Just for things that are a bit shit. Like, yes. Turns out I prefer amateur dramatics like this than if you were to deliver a monologue, I would just be bored. Like, if instead it was Sammy Guevara locking it in and he gave a big old speech to Darby Allin whilst he's in the lock and then Darby Allin, I'm so bad for looking like he's dead or whatever. No, that's not what I mean. I mean like physical acting like this. Oh yes, it's so over the top, I love it. And I laughed at the almost cartoonish backwards spill to the outside too, with the crowd just being loud and reacting to every bump on the way down. It just made it better for me. Like Darby hit every branch on his way down the tree. It's such a cartoonishly over the top fall to the outside. Back from the break with a shotgun dropkick flying backwards bump for Sammy off the apron. Darby with his sleeper back in the ring. But I like how Sammy's move to get caught for it was essentially a springboard twisting ass to your face so that he could then get caught into the choke. Sammy landed on his knee after a Spanish fly. That crazy man took the cane knee bump for that. The crazier bump still to come. 640 or whatever the rotation is. Crashed to the outside through the table that he got out at the start. Rolled back into the ring and coffin drop for the win. The champion surviving, but the worn out and breaking down Senning has properly entered its dramatic phase. Yes, it's here. It's going to be folded into the main event. The all-time win is obviously the Kenny Omega sending the exhaustion in the Okada match. But I'm all set up. I'm all ready for it. When Darby does his little collapse against MJF, everything has been set. And I'm ready for hit at the least opportune time. Or even better as a fake out. There's so many ways that you can use this now that it's been set up. I think that's my biggest applause is for the MJF Darby storyline specifically. There's been so many little things set up that you could use, or you could use to just convince us of a certain route and then just go somewhere else. Like, for me, there's a lot of great little plot points and things that you've brought up, or little character notes over this build for this. Like MJF weaknesses that we've seen crop up for him over his road to try and get something. Darby Allin just surviving and his body openly breaking down. I'm expecting that point to be shown again with the Mike Bailey match. Just to make sure it's all hammered home that Darby's body is breaking down, just like Max said it would. And it's no coincidence Max says the words about him being too stupid to have like calmed down a bit to have a longer title reign. And then on the very next show, Darby Allin's body's starting to crumble. Like, if you highlight that on Dynamite, just make sure everybody's aware of this is the storyline that we go for here. Like, already proving Max correct before we even get to the match. Then you can use that shit. You can send us down the wrong path. I'm all positive about the main event at the moment. The AEW shows as well, they're just so easy to watch. This week especially, both shows absolutely flew by. For me, the way that the Double or Nothing card is fully shaping doesn't feel like the most organic and entirely built up card. Maybe it's the insertion of the tournament matches happening on the show. I feel like the TV is just bubbling really nicely along at the moment, and there happens to suddenly be a pay-per-view, which is great for a lot of the card, which means suddenly we get a lot of matches which we could easily have put on a Dynamite just being on the card itself. For me, I'm talking about the Owen bracket matches as well, with a definitive main event. I think that's the biggest point. You've got definitive attraction matches mixed in with a few little teddy bouts, which are all exciting, which is the main thing. Like, the Owen bracket matches are all exciting matches to see on a pay-per-view. So it's like, if there was a bigger story or whatever, that would be your only argument against, but this is going to be a great match. And AEW can get away with that. They can get away with, you will buy this pay-per-view to see this great match, and their fan base has been conditioned more to appreciate the wrestling than the story, so that can really work. It's almost like a get-out-of-jail-free card for certain things. Now, I don't mind at all that the brackets for the Owen are, especially for the men's one, where it's just the person they're feuding with, and have made no attempt to hide any of it. Like, every single match. It's like, oh, what a coincidence. Like, no attempt to hide it at all. I said last week that I keep forgetting that it's not like a company-wide elimination tournament like the New Japan Cup, but I feel like it has been this most years. Like, this isn't new for the Owen to be like so strongly leaning into this, where it's like, it's just the lads who are all feuding. they get to have their match now in the tournament. And because that's what the tournament has set out to be pretty much from minute one, like, I'm fine with it, it's fine. You got the C2 for that other one. Like, the women's one for me is the example of this is the tournament if you don't have people feuding. And it's just, it doesn't have that same draw and appeal. I look at the men's one and every match in that is just far more interesting. Like, both sides are like people just stuck in an internal feud, which is great. It means that every next match feels more exciting because you're excited to see that pair have a little wrestle. Anyway, that brings me to the end of the show. Next week it will be double or nothing times, so it'll be a bit of a crunch for me to get it done. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to go rest my voice because, oh yes sir, too much banger anger. Definitely gone up. But as always, thank you for listening, engaging in any form, any manner. Always appreciated, never take it for granted. I'll be back this time next week to talk about double or nothing. So with that, I bid you adieu. Please listen to the other shows here on Social Suplex. Ta-ra, duckies. Ta-ra.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance. All backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.